In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, where the towering trees sway gently and the forest floors are blanketed in moss, a chilling mystery has lingered for 3 long decades. It was the summer of 1993 when 33-year-old Daniel Harper, a dedicated logger, mysteriously vanished without a trace. His disappearance sent shockwaves through his small hometown of Alder Creek, where Daniel was not just a beloved husband and father, but a vital part of the community. Days turned into weeks and weeks into years, but the case grew cold, leaving behind a family gripped by pain and uncertainty. The search efforts faded into distant memories, whispered only among those who loved him, as hope dwindled like the last light of day. For Daniel's wife, Sarah, the years have been a relentless cycle of grief and longing. She held on to memories of their life together, a life filled with laughter, love, and the simple joys of family. Yet each passing year left her with a haunting question: what had truly happened to her husband? The authorities had exhausted every lead, their resources stretched thin, leaving Sarah to carry the weight of unanswered questions alone. The forest that once felt like home became a haunting reminder of her loss, filled with shadows of doubt and fear. But then, in the summer of 2023, something extraordinary happened. A group of amateur drone enthusiasts, exploring the lush expanse of the forest, stumbled upon a series of aerial images that would change everything. As they reviewed their footage, a figure caught their eye. A man, eerily resembling Daniel, wandering in a clearing hidden from view for years. This shocking discovery would reopen the case, thrusting Sarah back into a world she thought she had long left behind. Could this be the breakthrough she had been searching for, or merely a cruel trick of the light? As news of the drone footage spread, the community buzzed with renewed interest. Sarah, now a determined woman in her 60s, was drawn back into the investigation. With the glimmer of hope reignited, she reached out to local law enforcement, desperate for answers. However, she faced skepticism from the very authorities who had once abandoned the case. To them, the past felt like a distant echo, a closed chapter. But for Sarah, it was a chance to confront the unknown and seek justice for the love she had lost. Yet, as she began to dig deeper into the mystery, an unsettling truth emerged. The forest that had swallowed her husband was not merely a backdrop, it held dark secrets of its own. As Sarah revisited old leads and uncovered new information, she would come to realize that Daniel's life was more complex than she had ever imagined. Hidden connections began to surface, suggesting a possible double life that Daniel had led, intertwined with the very fabric of the community he had loved. Could it be that the man she thought she knew so well had been harboring dark secrets? Or was there something more sinister at play? As Sarah delved further into the investigation, she found herself battling not only the passage of time, but also the deeply rooted fears of a community unwilling to confront its own demons. The return of the drone footage forced Sarah to question everything she thought she knew. Who was the man in the clearing? Was it truly Daniel, or just a figment of her desperate hope? With each passing day, the shadows of the past loomed larger, and she felt the stakes rising. The closer she got to the truth, the more dangerous her journey became. In the weeks that followed, Sarah gathered evidence, piecing together a puzzle that had long been scattered. She reached out to old friends, family members, and even former co-workers, each conversation revealing new layers to Daniel's life. The once dim memories began to illuminate a path that had been obscured by grief. Every lead, every detail, reignited the flicker of hope that had long been extinguished. But with each discovery came the chilling realization that the truth could be darker than she ever expected. As Sarah navigated through the tangled web of Daniel's past, the possibility of a criminal conspiracy began to emerge. Whispers of jealousy, betrayal, and hidden alliances started to seep into her investigation, hinting at a much larger story. Could her husband have become entangled in something dangerous? Or was he a victim of circumstances beyond his control? As she grappled with these questions, the pain of her loss transformed into a fierce determination. Sarah was no longer just a grieving widow. She was a woman on a mission, fueled by love and the relentless pursuit of justice. With the community rallying behind her, the investigation gained momentum. But as they approached the truth, it became clear that the shadows of the past were not willing to be disturbed without a fight. The secrets buried deep within the forest were about to be unearthed, and Sarah would soon discover that some truths can shatter lives. Join us as we follow Sarah's journey through the dense woods of mystery, heartache, and resilience. Will the drone footage lead her to the truth she so desperately seeks, or will it entangle her in a web of deceit that threatens to consume her? The answers may lie within the forest, but the cost of uncovering them may be greater than she ever imagined. As the weeks passed, Sarah pored over the drone footage, her eyes scanning every frame for any detail that could lead her closer to her husband. The once vibrant landscape now felt ominous, each tree and shadow a reminder of the man she loved and the life they had shared. Days turned into sleepless nights, driven by her determination to find the truth. Encouraged by the community's support, Sarah organized search parties, each foray into the forest bringing renewed hope. But as the search intensified, so did the tension within the small town. Some locals began to whisper doubts, questioning whether her relentless pursuit was worth the toll it took on her health and spirit. Yet, for Sarah, the stakes had never been higher. Each lead felt like a lifeline, each obstacle a challenge to overcome. During one of her excursions, a fellow searcher approached Sarah with a chilling rumor. They spoke of a man who had been seen near the site of her husband's disappearance shortly after he vanished. This man, known in the community for his erratic behavior and strange affiliations, had a history that raised red flags. Sarah knew she had to follow this lead, even if it meant confronting someone who might not want to be found. Determined, she approached the local authorities, but their response was dismissive. They had long since closed the case, deeming it unsolvable. Frustrated, Sarah felt the weight of their indifference, but she refused to back down. She began gathering her own evidence, interviewing neighbors, and piecing together a timeline that seemed to paint a different picture of the events leading up to her husband's disappearance. As Sarah delved deeper, she uncovered unsettling connections between the man in question and a group of loggers who had been operating in the area. Whispers of illegal activities and drug trafficking began to surface, linking back to the very forest where her husband had vanished. The deeper she dug, the more murky the waters became. One evening, while poring over her notes, Sarah received an anonymous message. It contained a single line: "You're getting too close." Her heart raced as she read the words. Who was watching her? And what did they want? The shadows around her grew darker, the stakes even higher. Despite the fear creeping in, Sarah knew she could not stop now. The pieces were coming together, and with each clue, a clearer image of the truth emerged. But the truth was not simply waiting to be uncovered. It was guarded fiercely by those who wanted it buried. As she prepared to confront the man she believed could hold the key to her husband's fate, Sarah steeled herself for what lay ahead. The path to the truth was fraught with danger, but she had come too far to turn back now. Would her determination bring her face to face with the dark secrets lurking in the forest, or would it lead her into a trap set by those who wished to keep the past hidden forever? The answer loomed just out of reach, but Sarah was ready to fight for it no matter the cost. Sarah stood at the edge of the forest, her breath catching in her throat as she recalled the last known whereabouts of her husband, Mark. It was a place filled with memories, both beautiful and haunting. Today, it felt like a battleground. She had learned that Mark was seen conversing with a local known for dubious connections just days before his disappearance. This man, Derek, was rumored to have ties to a gang that operated in the shadows of the community. As she approached Derek's residence, a rundown house tucked away from prying eyes, unease washed over her. She could feel the weight of the years pressing down on her shoulders, years filled with unanswered questions and sleepless nights. Would he offer her the truth, or would he try to silence her? The door creaked open, and Derek's eyes narrowed as he assessed her presence. He was an imposing figure, with a reputation that preceded him. Sarah felt a chill crawl up her spine, but pressed on, her voice steady. "I need to know what happened to Mark. You were with him days before he vanished. Please, I just want answers." Derek's laughter echoed through the dimly lit hallway, a sound devoid of warmth. "Answers? You don't know the half of it, lady. Mark was into things you can't even begin to imagine. He was playing a dangerous game." Sarah's heart raced. A dangerous game? What could he possibly mean? Before she could press him further, Derek leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You think you want to find the truth? Sometimes it's better left buried." This was the moment that shifted everything. The pieces of the puzzle began to fit together in a way she had never anticipated. Mark had been living a double life, one that involved secrets she could never have fathomed. He had been in too deep with people whose loyalty could not be trusted. Sarah's mind spun as she absorbed Derek's words. Suddenly, all the strange occurrences, the unexplained absences, and the unexplained phone calls from unknown numbers made sense. Mark wasn't just a victim. He was entangled in a web of criminal activity. Just as she thought she might backtrack, Derek leaned in closer, his voice dripping with menace. "If you dig too deep, you'll find more than you bargained for, and it won't just be Mark you'll lose. Consider this a warning." Sarah's determination hardened. She was no longer just searching for her husband. She was now uncovering a conspiracy that threatened her very existence. As she stepped away from Derek's door, one thought consumed her. What had Mark gotten himself into, and could it cost her everything? Little did Sarah know that the very clue she had pursued would lead her not only to the truth, but to a confrontation with forces she had never imagined. She would need to tread carefully, balancing the thin line between seeking justice and becoming a target herself. As the stakes rose, Sarah began to realize that the truth was not just elusive, it was dangerous. And the question lingered. Was she prepared to face the darkness that lay ahead, even if it meant sacrificing everything she held dear? With every passing day, Sarah plunged deeper into the investigation. The drone footage had sparked a fire inside her, igniting a determination she had long buried beneath layers of grief and uncertainty. She pored over the images, searching for anything that might reveal Mark's fate. Each frame was scrutinized, each angle analyzed, as she hoped to uncover clues hidden in plain sight. She reached out to former colleagues of Mark's, piecing together his life before his disappearance. Conversations would often lead to hushed tones and cautious glances, as if they were afraid of awakening shadows from the past. There were whispers of a logging operation that had ties to illegal activities, smuggling perhaps, or something far more sinister. As Sarah connected with more people, she noticed a pattern emerging. Several others had gone missing in the same area. It was a chilling realization that she was not alone in her search for answers, yet it deepened the mystery. What had drawn them all into this dangerous web? Her nights were filled with restless dreams of Mark, his voice calling out to her, urging her to keep searching. And when she awoke, the weight of her quest sat heavy on her chest. She sought help from local law enforcement, but their skepticism only fueled her resolve. They had long since closed the case, dismissing her claims as merely a widow clinging to false hopes. Undeterred, Sarah turned to independent investigators and online forums dedicated to cold cases. She shared the drone footage and her findings, which attracted the attention of a few passionate sleuths. Together, they dissected every detail of the logging company, tracing financial records and uncovering hidden connections. But as she dug deeper, Sarah began to feel an oppressive presence. Strange vehicles parked near her home, shadows lurking just beyond her view. She could sense she was being watched, that someone was growing increasingly uneasy with her investigation. Then, one fateful evening, an anonymous email arrived in her inbox. The subject line simply read, "I know what happened to Mark." Heart racing, she opened it, revealing a single line. "Meet me where the old logging road meets the river. Midnight." The message was both tantalizing and terrifying. Who could it be? A witness? An ally? Or a trap set to silence her? Despite the risk, Sarah felt she had no choice. She had come too far to turn back now. With determination coursing through her veins, she prepared for the meeting, aware that this could either be the breakthrough she desperately needed or a descent into a nightmare from which she might not return. The night loomed ahead, cloaked in uncertainty, as the truth edged closer, waiting to be unearthed, waiting to confront her in the darkness. As Sarah stood at the edge of the river, the shadows of the trees danced in the moonlight, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. The figure that emerged from the darkness was not a stranger, but a former employee of the logging company. He claimed to have witnessed Mark's last moments, a confrontation that had spiraled out of control. With the man's testimony in hand, Sarah returned to the authorities, who were hesitant at first, but the weight of new evidence forced them to reconsider. The investigation reignited, and as details emerged, a complex web of deception began to unravel. It turned out that Mark had stumbled upon illegal activities involving the logging company's exploitation of land, and his silence had become a threat to those profiting from the scheme. As the pieces fell into place, the culprits were confronted. One by one they were brought to justice, their misdeeds exposed for all to see. A shocking confession revealed that Mark's disappearance was not just a tragic accident, but a calculated move to silence him. Sarah could finally breathe as the truth erupted into the light. But while justice was served, the pain of loss remained indelible. Mark's absence echoed in every corner of her life, a reminder that sometimes the truth brings a bittersweet resolution. Sarah found solace in knowing she had fought relentlessly, shedding light on the darkness that had lingered for too long. As she stood by the river once more, she reflected on the journey, the fear, the pain, the relentless pursuit of justice. The search for truth is often fraught with danger, yet it is a necessary path for healing. In the end, Sarah learned that while some questions remain unanswered, the fight for justice can transform loss into a legacy of hope. As we conclude this haunting tale, it begs the question, how far would you go to uncover the truth? What secrets might lie hidden in your own life, waiting to be unveiled?